As the battle was ongoing, Isa, who appeared panicked, told Wolf to do something. Wolf, however, seemed relaxed in responding to her. He then shouted to General Duran to lure the enemy towards him. Afterward, Wolf unleashed his power, which created a storm that swept away the lizard troops, forcing them to retreat. However, in the midst of the storm, the coffin containing Sensei was also seen flying along with it. A celebration was held to commemorate their victory. They expressed their gratitude to Donan and Wolf for winning the war. Noor and Matilda didn't waste the opportunity. Isa was also surprised to meet Annette at this place. Suddenly, Sensei appeared and muttered a bit because his coffin was destroyed. Wolf then approached them and apologized for the earlier incident. Isa then explained that a war was happening in this city, led by a hero who had killed the Dark Lord. Matilda, hearing this, said that she had defeated one of them. However, Wolf seemed skeptical about this. Matilda continued, mentioning that Sensei also had the power to return otherworlders to their origins. Wolf, having heard about Sensei's power before, said that their help was not needed here. Wolf was very confident in his own strength. Isa then said that Wolf was indeed very strong and known as the Wizard of Storm. The scene shifted to the Demon Castle, where the Dark Mage, who had lost in the battle, was planning to launch another attack the next day. However, the leader of the fallen heroes had other plans and would assign someone more suitable to face them. Back at the dwarf village, Sensei was talking to Mellows about love issues. They decided to take a walk around the village. Not long after, they saw Wolf, who was very popular among the women. Wolf quickly left, which made Sensei curious, so he followed him. Wolf arrived at an old house, and this piqued Sensei's curiosity about whom he was meeting. Not wanting to disturb Sensei left him alone the next morning. Doran received word that the enemy had attacked again. He immediately prepared to face them. As usual, Wolf helped them with his wind powers on the battlefield. However, suddenly, a black dragon appeared and attacked Doran's army. Wolf, as usual, was about to strike the dragon with his magic, but instead, he encountered his former student. The student quickly incapacitated Wolf and took him away. Isa, who witnessed this, was left helpless. Back at their fortress, they felt despair without Wolf. Sensei, remembering a house Wolf had once visited, headed there. He was shocked to find an elderly woman living alone. The scene shifted to the Driten Temple, where Wolf had once taught his student. The student began attacking the place. Isa then shared Wolf's past, revealing that he had trained the dragon-riding woman, but for some reason, he became someone who drank alcohol. Isa emphasized that the most important thing now was to save Wolf. Suddenly, Sensei returned, bringing the elderly woman with him, which surprised Annette. The next day, they planned to go to the Driten Temple. Sensei asked Doran if the special coffin they had ordered was ready, but Doran replied that it would take more time, as it was not an easy task. As they were unsure how to reach the Driten Temple, Toru appeared and offered to take them there. Using his skills, he created a bus to transport them. However, it seemed he still held a grudge against Sensei and ended up abandoning him. Upon entering the Driten Temple, they were shocked to see the wolf bound and helpless. The woman then introduced herself as someone who had been trained by the wolf, and now she was known as the Angel of Greed. She then called upon the skeleton army to attack Annette and her companions. The skeleton army was easily defeated, but unfortunately, they were able to recover and multiply, which made it difficult for Annette and her friends to cope.
敵を前にたじろくな。かつてのあなたの教えです。グランシェイルド。これいいじゃない。頼む。ちょっと。あなたたちが倒れるまで戦いは続く。ギフテッド。
Isa then knelt down and asked why Eureko had become evil. The scene then shifted to show Eureko being trained by the wolf, where she had lived peacefully at that time. However, everything changed when her younger sister, Hikari, also arrived in this world. Wolf became more interested in her sister's power and paid more attention to her. Feeling sad about this, Eureko awakened her greed power and began to erase her sister. Just as she was about to finish them off, Sensei suddenly arrived with a modified coffin, carrying an old woman who accompanied him on a flying carpet. Eureko realized that the old woman in front of her was Hikari, her sister. Sensei Bun was eager to write the next chapter of the story. Seeing this, Eureko became furious with Sensei and ordered the skeleton army to attack him. However, Sensei's friends did not let this happen. As they got closer, Sensei intended to write Eureko's story. Hikari appeared to plead with her sister to end her grudge, but Eureko's pain had evidently blinded her. Just as she was about to kill Sensei, the wolf suddenly intervened and was struck by Eureko's attack. However, Sensei did not want any interruptions in the story he was writing. Despite being attacked, Sensei continued to approach Eureko and asked her what she truly wanted. Eureko then shared that since she was young, she had always spent her time taking care of Hikari, who was often sick. Her father also paid more attention to her sister than to her. One day, Hikari was very eager to graduate from school, so she wore her school uniform and went outside, imagining herself graduating. But when she returned, she found the doctor talking to her father. Her father was furious with her for not taking proper care of her sister, which devastated her. Feeling empty, Eureko left and was eventually hit by a truck, which brought her to this world. Now, when she met her sister again in this world, she had made her suffer once more. Eureko cried as she remembered all of this. Sensei then said that Eureko was actually a kind girl. Hikari then hugged Eureko and apologized for everything. Sensei then told them that when he had disappeared, Hikari had been very sad and always waited for him. Days passed, and Hikari grew even sadder. One day, while walking in her sadness, she was hit by a truck, which also brought her to this world. She was very happy to see Eureko again when she arrived at Driten Temple. Hikari asked the wolf to train her so she could defeat the Dark Lord and return to be with her sister, whom she missed so much. At that moment, Sensei's skill was activated, returning Hikari to her original form. Wolf healed from his wounds, and Driten Temple bloomed once more as it had before. Eureko apologized for what she had done and gave her hair ribbon as a farewell gesture. The next scene showed Eureko taking care of Hikari as usual, and their bond as sisters grew even stronger. Returning to the Driten Temple, Wolf thanked everyone who had helped him. Suddenly, one of the fallen angels, Misery, appeared and surprised them. Wolf attacked the person with his wind power, but it seemed to have no effect. Toru, who had been attacking secretly, was also rendered powerless. It was Matilda's turn, who used her beast fang, but Misery was able to deflect it. Helpless, Misery prepared to strike with his sword, but fortunately, Nur arrived in time to block the attack. Misery's sword shattered, surprising him. He stepped back and said that Nur needed to sharpen his skills. Matilda thanked Nur for helping her. Back at the Dwarven settlement, they celebrated their victory over the fallen angel army. In a corner of the room, Isa was talking to Wolf, who was silent. Wolf asked if the teachings of the church they followed were truly correct. The scene shifted to Sensei walking alone in the hallway. Unbeknownst to him, he passed someone he knew. He called out to Sacchan, the person he had been searching for. Sensei invited Sacchan to fulfill the promise they had made earlier, but Sacchan replied that Sensei had changed a lot since coming to this world. Sacchan then left, leaving Sensei confused. Annette, who witnessed this, became troubled. The next morning, Annette, Nur, and Matilda went to the blacksmith to thank him for the upgraded equipment. Meanwhile, in a corner, Sensei was still upset because he wanted to meet Sacchan again. Desperate, he took a pill, hoping to overdose. At the same time, Noor asked the blacksmith about his sword. The blacksmith said that the sword had extraordinary power, but Noor needed to continue training to unleash its full potential. Sensei, still frustrated, grabbed his coffin cart and left without a direction, prompting the others to rush after him. Meanwhile, at the Dark Lord's castle, Sloth noticed Sacchan, who had returned happily humming. He asked if Sacchan had met the person he was looking for. Sacchan, smiling, was looking forward to meeting Sensei again. Meanwhile, Matilda was angry because Sensei had disappeared. One of the villagers they met explained that they were at the farthest village, known as Hero's Final Stop. This village had a famous hero statue that faced the Dark Lord. However, the villager mentioned that the statue's direction changed after someone inside a coffin crashed into it and entered the tunnel. When they tried to follow Sensei, the villager said it would be impossible because that place was the entrance to a forbidden fairy realm, and outsiders could only enter if they passed a test. Meanwhile, Sensei, speeding along, was inside the tunnel. A voice warned him to turn back, as he would have to face 3 difficult trials to pass. However, Sensei nonchalantly continued and surprisingly managed to pass all 3 trials without much effort. The person who warned him that Sensei wouldn't succeed came out of the tunnel. Noor and Matilda agreed, seeing Sensei's weak endurance. Sensei eventually succeeded and was brought to the fairy world. He fell onto the fairy queen's chest, who welcomed him. Sensei thought he had entered another world. One of the fairy queen's guards scolded Sensei for being rude. The fairy queen introduced herself as Oberus and said that she would grant protection to those who passed the test and use it to bring peace to the world. Sensei was chosen as the one who would bring balance. Oberus asked Sensei whether he wanted to choose his friends or great power. However, Sensei seemed to choose the third option, saying he preferred death because the person he loved had left him. He no longer cared about the world. Oberus, seeing that Sensei wasn't qualified to be a hero, sensed that he had been granted power by the spirit world tree she had helped long ago. This made the fairy queen's guards angry, as they felt that Sensei was unworthy of such a gift. Oberus stopped them and explained that the hero they once considered had failed to fulfill his duty, and the world was in chaos due to the arrival of the other worlders. Sensei was seen as the right person to restore balance, even though he seemed weak. Finally, Oberus blessed him with fairy protection and promised that in the end, he would be reunited with his partner. Oberus also gave Sensei a fairy whistle, which he could use in danger. After that, he was returned to his original place. Back in the village, Annette seemed very worried because Sensei hadn't returned yet. But suddenly, Sensei appeared before them. The villagers who recognized Sensei were shocked because he had come out of that place. However, this time, he accidentally damaged the statue in the village even more. At that moment, he blew the fairy whistle given by the fairy queen. Solu, one of the fairy queen's guards, appeared in front of them, looking surprised and unable to believe that the fairy queen had given him such a task. The group leaves the town, uncertain whether Sensei is meant to bring peace or plunge the world further into chaos. However, for now, Sensei is determined to continue his journey, especially if it brings him closer to reuniting with his soulmate. With that, the first season comes to an end. Thanks for watching.
旅を続けよう。